In the world of horror, ladies and gentlemen, I had to bring the queen of horror. I'm going to be honest. To me, she's the queen of horror. We're going to talk some Camp Crystal Lake, the TV show. We're going to talk some Nightmare on Elm Street. We're going to talk some streaming, some content creation. Reanimate her. Welcome to the show. How's it going?
It is going great. Thank you so very much for having me here, Rory. I'm excited for our conversation.
Oh, we have a lot to talk about because you're wearing who I think is the bane to my existence. I got to take a deep breath. Jason Voorhees. Why do y'all like Jason? Be honest.
I love Jason. He's over the top. He's like, I call him the juggernaut of death. He doesn't care who's in the room or where. He just comes storming on in and murders. It doesn't matter. He doesn't discriminate. I love the fact that he doesn't kill any animals and he doesn't kill children. But he's just over the top. His kills are creative and definitely over the top, but that's why I like him. I mean, Michael is good, but he's more of a cold, calculated, in the shadows type of killer. But I do like my Jason.
Okay. It's going to lead to our conversation. There's a new show coming out. I'm going to watch it. No, I want to give it a chance because I like my horror movies. We have Crystal Lake, October 15th, 2026. 8 episodes. Speak to going into this. 'Cause I know you've been vocal on X talking about it. What do you think is going to happen in the show? What would you like to see?
Well, I would love to see where the whole doom, the camp is, you're doomed, it's Camp Blood. I understand that the Camp Blood comes from, of course, Pamela's murdering spree, but I want to know the history before that. Are they going to throw in some information about the land of Crystal Lake or the lake itself? I'm hoping to see a little bit more of Pamela, and maybe it'll help flesh out the periods between part 1 and part 2 of Friday the 13th.
Right.
And I'd love to see Crazy Ralph because he seems to be a big part in the first films. So I'd like to see what maybe he'll get in there. I have no idea. I'd like to see that.
Mm-hmm. I think we're in agreement. I feel like TV shows and the lore of what we grew up in watching, the horror movies and the, what do I say here? Man, I have to go all the way back. There's been so many horror movies. Let's say in the 80s, 90s and things like that. Now that TV shows have the technology, they have the ability to go back in the archives. They can tell the stories the right way. Someone like myself, I like Freddy Krueger. We're going to get into him in a matter of moments. But like with Jason, really build the story through the lore of who he is. And I feel like, I hope the 8 episodes do this, but they don't go off on like a tirade and tie up things that we're just like, wait, this was never mentioned. Like, don't say he was in space the whole entire time. He's a space entity. Like, and what's going on?
I'm hoping that they don't bring any part of Jason Goes to Hell, the Deadite bullshit. I'm hoping that they don't bring any of this Deadite stuff into it because I do not agree with Jason Goes to Hell. I do not agree that Jason is a part of the Deadites because technically Jason didn't die until part 4. And he didn't drown either. The drowning is part of the urban legend, right? We all have urban legends in our community and our culture that says, this happened. But when you break down and you actually investigate that urban legend, half of the stuff that's put into that is not true. And that's how I take the whole Jason drowning thing. He may have went under the water or whatever, but he washed up on shore and he still was alive. Now, what happened between Pamela and, part 1 and part 2 and why Jason went from 11 years old to, 40? I don't know. There's a lot of fandom on that one.
Yeah, I'm intrigued. I'm very intrigued. 8 episodes. So you already know that's a binge watch, probably for myself, probably 2.5 days, 3 days, things like that.
I know a lot of people will be binging it. I'm kind of sad that they're dropping everything in one shot. I am going to watch it weekly. I am going to hold myself back and watch it weekly and have discussions with my community every week about it. Because I think that's what's going to hurt the TV series. And I haven't really hurt it, but everyone's going to watch it in one shot. And there's going to be no more discussions. There's going to be no more talking about it. Everyone's going to have their debate on Twitter because that's where it's going to happen. And then in a week's time, it's going to disappear. If you drop an episode weekly, You give fans something to discuss and keep the TV series alive. And then that's how you're going to generate more people seeing this, because they're going to see the conversations from people instead of 1 week worth of conversations and it's done.
This is the reason why I'm a big component of HBO. I'm going to be honest, because I feel like HBO does it great. Some of the best TV shows have come from HBO. Like, anyone wants to debate me, by all means, go ahead. You see what they did with Welcome to Derry.
Oh, yes.
Once a week. You know what I mean? And I think that's we play video games, we talk about the meta. I feel like that would be the meta because it gets the conversation bubbling. You can create more cliffhangers, you know what I mean? And things like that. So I know it's Peacock that's doing it. No disrespect to them, but it's like kind of take the model a little bit. But I feel like they're like, we just want to get this out here because we don't want to compete with anything else. Which I'm like, around that time, the only other thing that's coming out is, not the Huntress, the Axe girl that they're doing on Netflix, the Monster series.
Oh, Lizzie Borden.
There you go, Lizzie Borden. See, thank you, tag team partner. That's the only really other thing that would bleed over into that. But by the time Camp Crystal Lake is done, or Crystal Lake, should I say, is done, you're already out the clear. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have an issue with that Lizzie Borden one too, but I haven't seen it yet. But Lizzie Borden has never been criminally convicted of murdering her parents because there is no actual evidence.
Here we go. So we're going on a rabbit hole. See, I told people I didn't know where this conversation. I have where the conversation is going to go, but she just hit me with this. Interesting. Why do you say that?
We can save that for another episode if you want.
Hey, listen, why not? Why not? I would love to do that. Here's my thing. I love the Monster series. I feel like they've
they're fun.
Everything perfect all the way up to the point. I know there's one particular one I feel like they should do. We need to get the conversation around. She played Monster. Charlize Theron played the character of Monster in the movie. What's
Eileen Wuornos.
There you go. We need to be told that story correctly, I think. I don't feel like you can do things in a 2.5-hour movie.
No, and
episodes.
I mean, the downside of Monsters, I like it, but the downside is they add too much dramatization and not enough truth. Ed Gein, there was a lot of fluff and drama to make it interesting, but there was less facts. That disappointed me because there were previous ones that were really great and they were pretty factual. Of course, you're going to have dramatization. You want to keep people involved, but they added things that were not true by a lot. And I'm just like, for someone like me, I know the story of Ed Gein. I know the story of Eileen Wuornos, and it is a sad story. That woman, sad story. I don't agree with what she did, but I understand. I'm hoping that they do one with Eileen, but truly tell the story. And no, it needs to be done at a good pace. Like, you can't just shove everything in 2 hours.
You can't. And that's why I'm looking forward to, hopefully they do Ted Bundy as well. I feel like that's going to be the next one. It has to be the next one.
That's a big one. There's tons of, tons. He's getting up there with Jack the Ripper when it comes to TV series and movies and all that.
For sure. No, definitely. Well, you gave me a little thought process. Maybe I might have to definitely bring you back, things like that. Because it'll be a good conversation. Switching directions. We're back in the horror still. Freddy Krueger. Now, our guy, Robert Englund. I don't know him personally. I'm thinking maybe in February 2027, I might go to that convention out in California so I could be able to have just like a quick conversation with him. It'd be nice putting that manifestation out there. We're hearing Nightmare on Elm Street is coming back.
Yes.
Personally, to you, in your eyes right now, ReAnimateHer in your eyes, who should play the next Freddy and why?
Oh, there's been quite a few contenders, and I can never remember their names. There is a guy, his name is Mike Levy. I don't know if you've heard of him.
Heard the name.
He has worked with Robert Englund. He actually played the younger version of Robert in some, I can't remember the name of the movie either. I'm horrible at that. I think he would be a good candidate. And then there's another guy, he's British. Can't think of his name, but there is, have you seen Sons of Anarchy?
Absolutely.
Do you know the trans woman that Tig falls in love with?
Oh
That
my goodness,
actor?
it's been so long.
Okay, let me a
I
quick
forgot that.
Google.
Yeah, by all means, come on now. This is what we do on the podcast. We like to fact
Okay,
check things.
I cannot remember his name.
Hmm. That's what I love, y'all. Real time, real time education. We don't fact check everything before it comes out.
Walter Goggins. That's
Yo,
his name, Walter Goggins. He's tall like Robert. He is thin like Robert. He has the diversity to do what needs to be done. But I also think that he would study Robert's body movement because Freddy isn't just a man in makeup and a mask. He's body language, he's one liners, even his eyes and the way he turns his head and the way he looks at you. That all plays a huge role in Freddy himself. That is one of the reasons why I think the remake of Nightmare on Elm Street totally bombed, was because you had the Wish version of of Freddy Krueger. The mask was horrific. His body language, you can tell he didn't study Robert's movements at all. And I think in order to give us a actual Freddy that's going to be on par, that actor has to be willing to study the previous in order to give us something good.
this is why I love that you threw the layup off the backboard. Now I grabbed the rebound to put it back up. I'm gonna say this. I love how you lined everything up because for me, it only makes sense. There's only one guy that I think it's not Jim Carrey. I think Jim Carrey could
I think Jim
potentially,
Carrey could. Yeah.
but I've said this 1984 movie. There was a scene. If you have not seen Nightmare on Elm Street, number one, whatever you want to call 1984, this is a spoiler. And I'm going to say he got pulled through a waterbed. You know where I'm going,
Yeah.
Johnny Depp.
I think Johnny Depp could play him well. Did you see how he did his body language with Captain Jack Sparrow? And how
Johnny Depp might,
diverse Johnny is as an actor? Yeah, I think Johnny could have some good chance in doing that.
as long as they don't turn it musical, then I'm okay. Because
Oh my
they're gonna say
Lord.
Johnny Depp. We're gonna need a little rendition real quick. You know why I think it is? Because Johnny Depp is probably one of the most underrated actors in our generation.
Yeah.
You don't hear his name in a lot of things, right? Because I think some people skip and they miss unless you bring it up. Like some folks will say Leonardo DiCaprio. I get it, but Johnny Depp is like
He's calibers above
diverse.
Leonardo. Calibers.
Ooh, hot
I
take,
don't
hot
I don't
take,
like Leonardo DiCaprio.
hot take. These are hot
Definitely.
takes here.
I think he's overrated.
No, I hear you. I hear you. There's some movies that I've been like on, but no, I feel like Johnny Depp because you could call back the original movie.
Yeah.
There's a
Oh,
callback right there,
100%.
and tie it up in a way where it's like, don't say, oh well, Freddie had a kid, because then you're gonna be like, well, who was the kid with?
How did, yeah, no.
Well,
Freddie
unless it was
was dead and
Nancy.
he didn't have any, as a human, he didn't have any children whatsoever.
You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? But no, Johnny Depp would make the most sense because I feel like you could get a creative way of twisting that in,
Yeah,
right?
you can do it to where somebody was inspired by or copycat or some, you can do something creative. I don't know what they have planned. I don't know. I hope it's something good and I hope it's not a shot for shot remake of the first one because the first one doesn't need any remakes whatsoever.
For sure. And you want to have a conversation where it's like we're telling the story, like actually tell the story. Give me a 2 hours 50 minutes of telling the story. First hour telling us the story from when he was a child to a teenager and when all hell broke loose, and then do the transformation. Do the absolute transformation.
Well, we know Glenn was already taken by Freddy in that bed. How could you could spin it to where Glenn is actually Freddy, comes into Freddy, doing the fact that he was taken by Freddy. I mean, you could do some really crazy shit and make something completely new that stays with the lore, but expands on it even more.
Oh, I love that.
You
Speaking
could
to
do
you now.
something.
Speaking to you now. The love of horror, because I've seen the cosplays on Twitch, live streaming, doing all that stuff. Where did this all start from you? Where did it all go? Where did it start? What happened?
My grandmother, may she rest in peace, she introduced me to horror as a little girl. Back then, the black and whites were huge. You had what we now call universal monsters. We had Bela Lugosi's Dracula, Frankenstein. When I was young, I watched the movie Frankenstein, and I fell in love with that movie. As I got a little older, I come from a big family, so I have older cousins and aunts that they would babysit us, and they would watch movies that I should not have watched. So I saw Friday the 13th at a very young age, about 5 or 6 years old. Did I know what was going on? No, I honestly could not comprehend what was happening on the TV at that age. But my grandmother influenced my love for horror. When I was old enough to read, read at a higher level, because I was gifted Mary Shelley's The Modern Prometheus, which is Frankenstein.
We appreciate you here at the Mitchell Port Unleashed podcast checking out this particular episode. 98.5% of you do not ever press the subscribe button, let alone the like button. It helps us grow this channel. So if you do not mind, press the subscribe button, press the like button, and I appreciate you. Let's get back to the conversation.
And I read that. And I am completely 100% in love with monster films and reanimation, hence the name ReAnimateHer. And as I got older, newspaper route at 11, 12, I bought Fangoria magazines. I was that kid on the playground reading the magazines instead of playing with everybody else. I related more to Frankenstein's monster than anything else, than to other people, because I was a shy kid. I was quiet. Definitely not a part of the in crowd. And then it went into Night of the Living Dead. And I loved, it scared the crap out of me. Obviously, the original 1968 black and white. That one I think is scarier than any colored version of that film. Don't get me wrong, I love Savini's 1990 remake, but that film is definitely hit the spot for me, and I started becoming very immersed in horror. And that just grew as horror came along and as I grew up. I raised my kids the same way as well.
I love that. I love that. So you said scary movies, right? Because we've probably seen all the top-notch ones. What would you say is your top 3 in order? I could have went top 5, top 3 in order. Scariest movies of all time.
Scariest movies of all time. I'm gonna have to say The Exorcist is definitely one of those. Just knowing how religion is a huge role in our society, structured religion is huge in our society. And I do believe that there are things out there that we can't explain, science can't explain. You know, there's lots of things that science didn't explain until many, many, many years later. So I can see that being quite scary. Another film would be I Spit on Your Grave. I find super scary as a woman. We know how society can be. A film like that, it's scary, but it's also empowering. And I know there's going to be people that are going to be like, what does she mean by empowering? Well, what happens to the woman in that movie? She decided that she wasn't going to be a victim, and it empowered her to take back her power and to go after those that tried to take it from her. So she's no longer the victim. And to me, that shows that just because something horrible happened to you in life doesn't mean it has to define you. You can break out of that regardless of what it is and how horrible it is. And I think that's very empowering, but I also see it as a very scary movie. Let's see, one of the other ones that I find would be scary. I have to think on that there. What was the movie that was pretty unsettling?
There's a lot out there.
There's a lot of them, yeah.
For me, still to this day, I can't watch the 1970, 60, late 60s, early 70s, The Omen. I can't do that.
That's a scary ass movie when you think about it. Like if you looked at it not as a movie, right? If you looked at it as this could actually happen, because I mean, we've seen some crazy shit, and I mean, you have people saying that some of these horrible people in real life are monsters and they're demons, right? So you can see that play. I'm going to have to say Jaws.
That's an interesting take.
Well, there's a few reasons for that. Jaws, when I was young, I did drown. I was resuscitated and brought back at the age of 8. So drowning is a really big thing for me. I still don't watch movies that have anything to do with water. I watch Jaws as a movie that to help me break out of my fear for water because I don't go swimming. And that movie gives me so much anxiety. It's not even funny. I've tried to work through those fears with horror, right? That's one of the best things about horror. You can watch something so horrific and scary, but still feel safe in your own home. Well, maybe not afterwards because you're like, I'm knocking all these friggin' doors and windows, chaining this place up. Jaws is one for me, just because of what happened to me personally.
Hmm. I feel like we come from the same school because I almost drowned when I was a young toddling around about the age of 2. You know what I
Ooh,
mean?
yeah.
I don't. What's so wild? I don't remember because it's been so long. But I
Yeah.
remember enough to where my body tenses up.
Your
You get what I
body
mean?
remembers the trauma. You may not remember the trauma. And that was with me. I went through a lot of therapy when I was in my early teens due to whatever trauma I had sustained. It's the body that remembers. You know that
For sure.
feeling.
For
I feel
sure.
like I'm suffocating when I watch anything with water.
Hmm. And listen. I'll tell you this: there's certain bridges. Like if I go for walks, I don't walk next to the rail of a bridge. I cannot do it
No,
because
yeah,
I'm the fear. You know what I mean? I feel like it's starting to slowly kind of where I'm like, okay, you know what? I want to take a leap. I said Toronto Island. I want to get on one of them boats. I'll do it. You know what I mean? As long as
yeah,
there's no like riffraff people, I'll pick somebody that I know well, and let's go
yeah.
boating. I want to do it because I feel like I want to see if I can overcome that. So I get what you mean
Good for
about
you. I've
Jaws and
tried
things
to
like that.
overcome it.
Yeah,
I have
yeah,
tried. I'm 30 something. What was it? I was 32 years old. My husband, we went camping and there is this man-made lake. And we were like, okay, let's try to go in it. I went up to my ankles. I was fine. Went up to my knees. Getting a little worried, but I trust my husband, right? He's always been there for me. He won't let anything happen to me. And so I just kept my eyes on him as he swam out. My heart is racing. I swim out there and he's yelling at me like he's trying to tell me, don't stop moving my feet because he realized that there's some seaweed down there. And if I was to feel that, I would probably lose my shit. And he was right. He's yelling at me, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I can't hear him. Something's going on. So I stop paddling away. And I felt this thing wrap around, and I totally went under. He, of course, comes and helps me, and he's trying to lift me up out of the water, but I'm taking us both under because I am panicking. So I have tried.
no,
I don't
and
go on canoes.
that's
I don't go on small boats. I do not go on cruises.
that's something I'm never doing. That's too much open body of water, and I can't see land or anything.
Right? Pools, I'm
You're
okay with. I'm
yeah,
okay with a
yeah,
pool. I can see
yeah.
what's in there. And if I have to get the hell out, there's usually a ladder on the side.
Right? Yeah, I hear everything you're saying because it's like even folks that you see will go camping and they jump in the lake and stuff. I'm like, that's not me, man. That's
Mm-mm.
not me. I just
I'm not about
it's
that
rough.
lifestyle.
It's rough, you know what I mean? And it's so wild. Call back to Jaws real quick.
Mm.
What I appreciate about Jaws, pandemic, when we were locked down, because we're over here in Canada, we were locked down for fucking centuries, it felt like.
But
I
yeah,
went to the first time, I was like, let me go to the theater. It was late one night. I was like, let me go see Jaws, because they opened it up in the theater. And that is the reason why where I sit at my age, I appreciate that movie based off of like how far ahead of time Steven Spielberg's mindset was.
oh,
Because
yeah.
I'm like, to have this great white shark just creating havoc and doing what it was doing, I was like, on the big screen, I was like, oh my God, my jaw was open. I was like, oh my God. You can't see this on a
Yeah.
little teeny 42-inch screen HD Blu-ray. You needed the
It
big
needs to be
screen to
on the
be
big
like,
screen.
know what's going on, you know?
Jaws traumatized an entire generation and still continues to traumatize people.
Right? And the thing is, some of these shark movies that are coming out, they're not getting it right. Some are okay. I see them trying, but some I'm just like, this is too cheesy. What are we doing?
Yeah, I haven't seen many shark movies. There was one that I seen. LL Cool J was in it. is that Deep Blue? No.
I know what you're talking about.
That one was pretty scary too.
Mm-hmm.
That was a big ass shark.
It was, but some people like these things, like swimming in the sea and doing the shark cages. And I'm like, why?
You want to die? Because that's how you die.
Right? Or these big ass ships that you see, like the water, and I get it. They have to have like life insurance and all this. And I see this on National Geographic, and I'm just like taking deep breaths, like, how? I'd be screaming.
Yeah.
I'd be screaming, you know what I mean? With that said, though, you speak about the horror movies, all that good stuff. You do cosplay, you do all this stuff. You're into streaming. Pretty successful streamer, I'm going to say as well.
Well, thank you. I like to think so.
Yeah. Everything you've been doing with horror movies and incorporating the streaming, what has been one of the things that's been the most limiting for you, if there is one?
I don't think there's been anything limiting. Well, horror is I know people like to think it's a huge niche. It's not. Yes, there's a lot of people who like horror, but it is still quite a small niche compared to things like action movies. So I do think that, I don't even want to say it's a limit, but getting the kind of content that I do out there, not just playing video games, but discussing horror behind the scenes, deep diving the directors of the films, caters to a specific type of people, where if I was into something other that was pretty ginormously huge out there, I think that would be less of a limit. That would be like the only thing I could say, because I just do horror. I'm a horror variety. I play horror video games, but I also love doing research and deep diving movies and directors and meanings and the psychology around horror, what it means to us, what horror empowers us with. So I like to do a lot of that. But again, that only caters to a certain group of people. I mean, of course, it's going to be like hundreds of thousands, but nothing compared to millions and millions, right? I think getting that content out to the masses.
So who's on your Mount Rushmore of horror movies?
My Mount Rushmore. Jason.
Number one? Is that like number one?
Jason's my number one. So there would be Jason, Freddy Krueger, Leatherface, Michael Myers. I'd have to say Hell Priest, and Ash Williams. You have to have, how many people are on Mount Rushmore?
Last time I checked, I think it's 4.
4? Well, son of a bitch. Well, then those will be my 4. But I had to add Ash in there because this is where we see a hero that's not a hero. I think he deserves some limelight. But I put my Mount Rushmore based on what they've brought to horror itself, not just because I enjoy their movies. They each have brought something to the horror genre to evolve it.
I love that. And putting Leatherface up there is actually interesting because you get a lot of the folks, the Jason, the Freddy, the Michael Myers. Yep. But that 4th slot can be very tough because you can throw in Ghostface.
Yes.
Like Ghostface
for the...
How many different people, though? You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because his lore is like many different people. Leatherface, I think we got to give some respect to.
Yeah.
I think one of the most underrated, too underrated, probably Hellraiser, Pinhead.
Oh, Hell Priest is always, I believe, underrated and one of the most powerful villains of our time. I mean, nobody could beat the Hell Priest because he's not just a demon, right? He's an interdimensional, can travel the realms, and the powers that he has, he can annihilate both Jason, Michael, all of them, in my opinion.
It's so funny because I do this in Marvel a lot, like who's the strongest Marvel person, and if you put this person against this person, who would win? And call back to Robert Englund. Someone asked him about the people like Chucky. He said he'd drop kick Chucky, which he probably would. I think he'd devour Chucky.
Chucky and the Leprechaun are kind of weak in that aspect. But
if he got it's game over.
Yeah. I mean, if they got you off guard, you're screwed.
Yeah. Because we've seen Chucky jumpy from behind. You don't know what you're doing.
You've seen some crazy shit come from Chucky, yeah.
Right? You know what I mean? So when I think about all of them, I was based on the power threshold. And that's why I say to some folks, I'm like, Pinhead is not someone you really want to play with. I don't really know who in the outside of maybe Freddy. And I know some folks will, well, what happens if you put Stranger Things and you put Vecna in the conversation? I'm like, well, yeah, you could do that, but Vecna's like a made up person. He doesn't really have a lot of bodies yet.
No, and I mean, out of TV series, you probably could, but then that's where I would argue with the fact with Pennywise the clown. I mean, Pennywise holds and harnesses some power, man, compared to Vecna. But he's also, yeah, I would have to, if you were going to do it like that, you'd have to do the TV villains, which, I mean, there's not overly a ton of them, but I think Pennywise, honestly, would be the scariest one to come up against in that area of TV.
Because he can shapeshift.
He can do anything. He can make you see things that aren't there. He can make you feel like you're going insane.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Absolutely. When you look at streaming now, and especially we speak about horror, speak to what you would love to see creators do more of in the space.
Be more genuine. There is so many fake people out there. So many. And I've been in the industry for 9 years. And I have come up against tons of disingenuous people. People who will say that they are genuine and they're here for this or that and the other thing, but turn around at the moment they can to use you as a stepping stone or use their community as a stepping stone or a financial piggy bank. And your community is not your piggy bank. I really can't stand when people guilt trip their communities because they know that these people support their content. And if you're out here on the internet whining and complaining every other day that you can't pay and you can't eat, you can't pay your rent, but you can't pay your bills and you can't eat, but you're sitting here streaming, then you need to think about using streaming as a hobby and get yourself a real stable everyday paycheck job. Because there's a lot of people who will use their communities as piggy banks. And I think that's disingenuous. And I think that's horrible.
Having some friends that I know that have been either on TV shows, on reality TV shows, some that have had streaming opportunities, I see it a lot, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say anything to them because they're genuine, deep down people. Like they're the ones that will stop. Doesn't matter if you have no followers or 1 million followers, they treat everybody the same. But I think what happens is when folks start seeing numbers, they start to get this weird attachment to the numbers, and then it comes into the whole money. You know what I mean? And money is the root of all evil. We get it. But I say to folks, I'm just like, look, sometimes you got to realize you had to start from somewhere. Now that you've made something of yourself and maybe you have, X amounts of thousands in your Twitch stream or on all these different platforms and you're monetized and you're making $250,000 a month or whatever you're making.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean for you to treat people differently. And you see it sometimes.
Yeah, you do see it. You see it a lot.
Yeah. And I've always said this to some folks, like for my 10 years of doing podcasting, you don't know who's in certain rooms. Trust me when I tell you, I've been to events where there's people that are in rooms. I'm not going to name drop them, but there's one particular person, that I ran into from an event in my other part of the city that I'm in. And I went up to him, I was like, yo, I remember you from this event. He was like, yo, what? Blah, 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 blah. Good conversation. But I'm talking about a guy that's a juggernaut. But he's so relatable and you can go up to him and have the conversation. And that was it. You know what I mean? And some people were like, well, wait, you know that person? I'm like, yeah. But I don't have to flaunt that. You see a handshake, you see some discourse, and we keep it moving. You get what I mean? And that's what it's about. But I think some folks miss the point. They miss the point,
I think the fame goes to their head as well. And I think if you pay attention to your numbers, that is how you're going to burn out. Numbers will fluctuate. As a live content creator, I do some recorded content, but I'm primarily a live content creator. And your numbers fluctuate depending on what you are doing, what you are talking about. If you're playing a game, if you're doing just chatting, they fluctuate. and they will always fluctuate. If you focus on your view count, you will get burnt out real quick. You will get disheartened. You'll be like, why are they not watching me? Blah, blah, blah. Instead of focusing on what's really important is who keeps coming back, right? Who keeps coming back? Don't worry about your CCV. Your CCV will go up and down, but are people consuming your content? Do you have the same 23 people coming into your stream consuming your content? That's important as well, because they enjoy your content. Whether they support you financially, they're supporting you in a way where they keep coming back to your content. And that's what's more important than your numbers.
You know, it's so much power. Let me snap seasoning on a Sunday as I was recording this. There's so much power to what you said, because we could be changing up games in the variety gaming, right? Mm-hmm. In one hand, you could be playing Dead by Daylight, but those 25 folks that are watching you play Dead by Daylight may not be the same ones that are watching you play Fortnite or watching you play Resident Evil Requiem or any of these other games. And I think that's where some folks, and I'll double down what you say, you want those folks, those 25 that are watching you between every single game that you're playing. Because the ones that are dropping off are just there probably for the game because they like to watch it. But they're like, I don't business with Fortnite. Why am I going to be there? And that's the thing where it's like, build your community with men or women or whatever you identify as that are going to be there for you.
Yeah, build your community around you.
You know what I mean? You're gonna crack jokes with each other. You're maybe, you know, within reason. They're gonna ask you questions. You're having conversations. You're doing this. You're checking in. You're doing all that. That is what makes the most recipe for success. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. 8 years ago, I was told by my mentor, may he rest in peace, build your community around you. Don't worry about what game you're playing, because people will show up because of the game. It's like you want people to show up because of you. And that was given to me 8 years ago. And that is what I have done. There's a reason why I share my passion for horror, because I know that there are other like-minded people that love horror just as much as I do and like to discuss it. And maybe they don't have that outlet to discuss. Like, my husband doesn't watch anything horror unless it's like a horror comedy like Shaun of the Dead. So I can't sit there and talk to him about the lore of Jason Voorhees or whatever. But I have lots of friends online in my community that I can sit here and I can talk about 4 hours of Jason Voorhees, and we can debate about different things and add into the fandom. And I know that there are other people out there that are like that. So I utilize my passion and who I am to be able to attract the same type of energy.
Love it. I love it. And it's so relatable. You see your content, you can see it, you know, everyone's chiming in your Twitch, doing what you're doing. You know, I don't know what other platforms you're on, but I just know that's where I discovered you, was through X and then Twitch, and then, you know, really understanding things. And I just say this to a lot of folks, like, content creation is the norm now. It's the norm. It's like we can't get away from it. 10 years doing what I've been doing, like 2016, the whole landscape has changed. And that's just the podcasting area. Starting to come over now a little bit into the streaming and stuff like that, and just dibbling and dabbling. That's its whole other juggernaut. So it's like, you have to understand, there's millions of people wanting to just do what they're wanting to do. I think, I'm going to be honest, people rather want to be a content creator now because maybe they don't want to do their 9 to 5 anymore. That's just the reality of life. Yeah. Because they're like, you know what? I'm sick and tired of having this person telling me what to do. Now it's, I want to go build my future, build my legacy. But you have to understand, there's a lot of work that goes into this. A lot of work that goes into it. I think there's pros and cons to having a 9 to 5 and being a content creator. I feel both jobs are hard. Working for yourself is even harder. So I think there's a little bit of everything. And I think the downfall for most people is that they don't research. They don't investigate what goes on behind the scenes. All you see is this person making content and making money. You don't see the endless hours and sacrifice that person does during the week and the weekend. They work more offline than they do online. You just get to see the glitz and glamour of it. You don't really get to see behind it. And I think a lot of people think, I can do that. Yeah, you can do that. But can you do what goes on outside of that? ReAnimateHer, no. I don't think a lot of folks are. Because I think we can both speak to, and it's not to throw shade. It's a lot of folks don't understand. I truly feel that they see, okay, they're on camera. They got these monitors. They
Yeah.
got these fancy mics. They got these editors. Not all of us have editors. A lot of
I
us are doing
don't.
this
I do
solely by
everything my damn
ourselves.
self.
You know what I mean? But I think what it is that so many folks look at, like, I give him a shout out all the time because I think for me, he's so entertaining. Guys like Nick Merckx. Nick Merckx in the gaming space. He plays shooters. He does what he does. You know, he gets him back and forth. He's like, I'm a controller player on PC. All you keyboard and mouse people, it is what it is. I'll show you what it is. So many people look at him and they don't realize Nick Merckx probably had to do this by himself till he eventually inherited a team.
Yes.
And if he came into this podcast, he would say the exact same thing. He'd be like, ReAnimateHer, Rory, 100%. I had to put the work in, you know?
You have to put the work in unless you come from money and you can already automatically throw it out there, right?
Facts. You know what I mean? Like, heck, if we'd all love to have a nice startup. You know, I think if some folks could start up and say, okay, you want to be a content creator? Let me get 50,000. I'll get the monitors. I'll get this. I'll get a couple editors, a couple clippers. You're good. Yeah, that's a hack. But when you have to simply pick up through your content, see what you're gonna do. Is this program gonna do this? Is that program gonna do this? Oh, I don't like this program. There's been so many programs in virtual podcast and recording I've went through because they're not where they need to be. This one is where it needs to be. They make some updates. And then it frustrates me because then you look at where the feature is and it's hidden behind something. So you got to like dig.
Yep.
And I'm like raging at my computer first thing in the morning. I'm like, yo, what did you guys do this update? You guys are killing me. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But we power through it. You know what I mean? And it's money that goes into this, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, yeah.
Start off cheap, but like if you want to improve yourself, it's money, you know?
It does. Everything costs money. Your video games, your microphone, your monitors, your internet. You have to have good internet to sit there and stream, especially live stream. I gather you could probably have crappy internet to record because you're not really, I mean, unless you're doing something like this, right? You would have to have decent internet. But if you're using like OBS just to record some stuff, you know, if you don't have the ability to pay for high speed internet and you have a lower speed internet, my advice would be get yourself OBS, record the things that you want people to see, post it on YouTube, start building that way instead of having to worry about high speed internet and all of the goodies that you have as a creator.
The easiest way to create content, I'll say this to folks too, is using the technology like your phone. You don't necessarily need to
we
go
all have
out.
phones.
You don't need to go out and you may not need to buy that Canon or Sony camera or that fancy webcam. I've done some podcasts, believe it or not, not on the phone that I have in front of me here, but on an iPhone 14 Pro Max where I did one angle doing a podcast.
Yeah.
Where I set that up to be my virtual camera and people are like, oh my God, that's amazing. And I'm still trying to figure it out 10 years doing this, right?
Yep. If you're not learning.
I got a fancy black drape behind me because it's a temporary setup because I'm pondering, what the F do I want to do right now? You know what I mean? Because I'm like, my other place where I want to sit is right over there. And I like this, I have a fascination with like white walls, but I feel like I want to know how to dress it up and do all this stuff. So right now, this is a black drape behind me. I know some people are like, you guys got a black drape behind them.
Everybody starts somewhere. I started in a living room with an Xbox, Turtle Beach headset, and a Kinect as a webcam.
Bang.
That's it. I had nothing fancy. My collection was always out, but I never had that my own space. I had two kids. We had a 3-bedroom townhouse, so each girl had their own room. We had our room. There was really no place to set up an office. Now my kids are all grown. They're out of the house. Now I have the space to have an office. But you start somewhere. You don't have to have everything fancy to get going. Start somewhere. Just start creating content. And
Absolutely.
You'll learn as you continue to go. I'm still learning things 9 years into this industry. I'm still learning. And if you're not learning, there's a problem. You should always be educating yourself on what's coming, what tools, what software, what's going on around you. You should always be learning.
I'll even say this. I think that a lot of folks, I've heard where some folks go into the metric, they think within the first 3 to 4 years you see your success. I'm starting to see a lot of creators that have stuck around. By the time they get to like 8 to 10 years, is where they start seeing the actual things starting to cut. You're like, wait, okay, so this came through, this brand deal came through. Oh, this collaboration came through. Oh, wait, now you're getting to the point where you're starting to get flown out to these functions, meeting your favorite
Yep.
content creators, meeting your favorite horror movie icons and things like that. So I say to folks is just keep chipping away. If
Yeah.
you're at least doing this 1 hour every single day, there's 365 days in the year. 1 hour a day for 365 days a year. What do you think is going to happen year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5? You're going to get
Yep.
better. That's all you need, 1 hour.
There's always stuff that you can do, and it doesn't have to be big and fancy to do it. And most creators, most people who start either live streaming or doing YouTube, they usually bail out within the first 6 months to a year because they're not seeing that instant gratification that they see that other people receive, but they don't realize that that person has been in the industry for how many years. I think a lot of it, and there was one big streamer who's in that streamer university thing that said that a lot of this is luck. It's like getting the knowledge, understanding what's going on, but there's a lot of luck in that. There's a handful of people that will hit that 1% and make those dollars like Ninja. Not saying that Ninja didn't work hard for where he is at, because yeah, he had to start somewhere, but I think there's also luck that's mixed into that hard work and right place, right time.
And networking.
Yeah.
And networking. You know, a lot of, it's so funny you're tapped into the streaming university. I love that. Because I know someone that's actually been on this platform, and she was there. She got the invite to go, and I'm just so proud. So proud to
That's
see
awesome.
what you see someone that you've had a connection with do what they're doing. And it's happened with a lot of folks. So I sit back and I just say, this is interesting. You know what I mean? Because I know that clearly whatever I'm doing, it's about to get me to where I need to be. And that's
Yeah.
what it is. And it doesn't matter how old or how young you are, folks. I'm telling you, I feel like the mature gamers or streamers that are out there, we're starting to build some traction. Some folks want to see us. They want to see us. If you're after the age of 30, listen, start getting in content creation, because now we're the relatable ones. We have history. We have something we can talk about. You know what I mean?
We have an entire generation above us and in between the younger generation that can relate to us more. I can't relate to a 20-year-old.
Facts.
I'm pushing 50. There's no way I'm going to have anything in common besides a video game with someone who's 20. Do I watch anybody who's 20? No. Again, I have no common ground with somebody. They could be a horror fan for sure, but it's still not something that I'm going to look for. When I'm looking for someone to watch or listen to, I'm looking for people that are usually around the 30 and up area. Because I'm not just there to talk horror. I'm also there to make a connection with somebody. And it would be really hard to make a connection to someone who's 20 or 22 years old. I don't know, for conversation that way. Mentality, maturity. I'm not saying that there aren't mature 22-year-olds out there or mature 20-year-olds, but they're far and few.
Let me ask you this question before we get out of here. If there's one person you could collaborate with in the let's go into your space, the horror space. Say you could do a dual stream or bring them on to stream. Who would that be and why?
I'd have to say the Twisted Twins, the Soska sisters. They are not because they're in the horror, but they're also Canadian. They're out in BC. Well, they were out in BC. I don't know where they live right now. But I would have to say the Soska sisters. They are making movies. Like they've made one of the first movies was A Dead Hooker in the Trunk. I cannot remember the name of the actual. Yeah, Dead Hooker in a Trunk or in the Trunk or something like that was their first movie. It's their first movie, right? It's not bad, but they made a movie called American Mary. And I loved that movie. If you haven't seen American Mary, I'm going to highly recommend it. It's a very empowering movie. But the Soska sisters, for sure. I would love to sit down and pick their brain and hang out with them. And I've never actually tried to contact them. I should one day, maybe. But I would like to do something with them. Another one would be Mick Garris. He's a director, filmmaker that started out as a receptionist, journalist actually, and was a receptionist for George Lucas, and made his way in the industry by learning hands-on. Mick Garris did things like Masters of Horror, the miniseries The Stand for Stephen King, also the miniseries The Shining that was on TV. How about yourself?
Great question, because I was actually pulling up. See, this is what I love about podcasting, and I'm starting to incorporate. Is I was looking at American Mary, and I see the two sisters, and I'm like, what I want to do is give my flowers to you and say, why not? Why not reach out to them? You never know.
Yeah,
The way
you
that
never know.
technology's built, virtual. It can be virtual conversation. You position your OBS with this, with this, with this, with this. If you need help to knowing how to do it, trust me, I'm here. I'll give you the advice. I'll tell you what to do. But I'd love to see that for you, honestly.
Oh, thanks.
No, for me, geez, you're going, this is a curveball question for me. There's so many people.
There's a lot, yeah.
There's so many games. I gotta think here. You know what? It'd probably have to be, because I would love to just get into the mind. It would have to be either the burnt peanut, and the only reason why is how entertaining it is. I was sitting here one night, I'm like, what am I doing watching this? And he's just loud, obnoxious, funny. He curses sometimes. He's competitive. But I'm like, how does one person come up with this whole entire idea? I know he's not going to tell me this, how he came with the idea, but there's a way you can get around it. You know what I mean?
Honestly, I think people who hide behind a mask can be whatever you want. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm really not, because you're more vulnerable being out there looking like we do than me throwing on my Wolfman mask and doing whatever the hell I want, because there's no inhibitions. There's nothing holding me back, because you're not going to know it's me. So if I make a fool of myself, ain't nobody going to know. But if I make a fool of myself and that makes me famous, I'm going to keep that going. Now, I'm not going to say it makes it easier. I think it does make it a little easier to be that loud, that entertaining, putting yourself out there, very much like Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey doesn't need a mask. He is that entertaining as is. Would Burnt Peanut be the same entertaining person without being a peanut? Now that's the question.
You never know, because we don't know. We don't know who it is. You know what I mean?
But I also think people love the mystery of some guy looking like a peanut. And I think that's why some VTubers are so successful, is they're entertaining behind their mask, and people like to see this character that they've created. And that's another thing why I think, there is a place for VTubing in the world. There is a place for people who wear, whether or not Burnt Peanut considers himself a VTuber, he uses an avatar. And I think you have to be entertaining to a certain extent, not just relying on your look as that character.
And I think it protects because of how big, I'm going to say this, he or she is. There's a unique look at what I think. Like, we think about Bart Simpson. We always thought Bart Simpson was the voice of a male, but it turned out to be the voice of a female. I have a theory, just a simple theory. Burnt Peanut is not who we think he is or she is presenting themselves as. And I think lowest of keys, I think it's a woman. And it
definitely could be. Definitely could be. Nowadays, anyone can be anything behind, and there's voice changing. I mean, my mixer here, I can
turn around and talk like this if I wanted.
You know.
Are my lights gonna come off? My light's gonna come off. uh, Lucifer, is that you?
My mixer has everything I need to change the pitch in my voice. It has everything I need to change. I can literally make a man's voice, and I have a filter. We joke around in my chat. I have a filter that turns me into a guy. We call him Ray, but I don't have the voice for it yet. So I'm actually working on that. However, it's a fun thing that we do. People will turn me into Ray. Hold on. I wonder if I can show it to you. Hold on. Let's see.
Hello?
Right? So,
Ladies and gentlemen, this was not planned. This is impromptu. Like,
no, it's not planned.
I got some goosebumps. Like, first you were talking to me in that voice, and I had to look around. Like, yo, is this supposed to come through my ceilings? Like, I got to slit in the little thing with the power box here. Like, what are we doing? Like, you know what I love, though? You know what I love is that this shows talent, that this shows being original, being fun, you know what I mean? Things like that. And I feel like with what we have the ability to do is just be characters in our own realm and I've learned this just from what I do in the world is that Twitch streamers, YouTubers, vloggers, y'all make our goddamn day. Because the thing is, we could be going through some mess in life. Some mess could be bad relationships, friends are mad at each other. Life is just tough.
Yeah.
We can just turn on Twitch, we can turn on Kick, we can turn on this, and we can watch is ReAnimateHer live? Look, she does that voice changer. She shows us that face or whatever she's doing. Man, fuck, yo, my day's good. I made that person smile. And it was wild because there was a content creator that plays Madden, and he's so entertaining. He can be loud and obnoxious and stuff like that, but he's competitive. But he's so funny. And I donated 20 into his chat, and I sent the message, and that whole chat exploded and meant like W Mitch, W this, da 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 da. Like, that's wholesome, that's this and that. And he said the exact same thing, but what I loved about what he said, he goes, "That's why we're here, man." You know, and he put it out there, and he said it's God first. You know what I mean? If God doesn't give me the ability or whatever you believe into, you know, and that's just how life is, you know.
Yeah, making a difference in somebody's life. It's why we watch movies. It's why we watch TV shows. If I'm having a crappy day and someone I watch is not on, I'll watch a YouTube video of them or a VOD of them, or I will go throw on some of my favorite feel-good movies, right? So being able to go into a channel and feel a connection and make that connection, and it could literally help your own life. Plenty of times where I have gone live and I didn't want to go live because whatever may have been going on, I was stressing, but my community helped turn my day around. So it works both ways as well. And a lot of times I'll get DMs saying, you know what, I was going through a horrible time, but I'm so glad I stopped by your stream because I laughed my ass off. That's the whole thing. We are human. We have the technology to try to connect with other people from around the world. And those people affect our lives, whether they're online or not. And they can help make your day. So if I can make one person laugh, I've done my job.
Well said. How do we become 1% better in life or content creation?
Keep learning. Don't stop learning, and don't stop treating people good. Keep treating people the way that you want to be treated. Put that energy out there. I'm a big believer in positive energy. What you put out there, what you say out there, the universe hears it, and the universe will give it right back to you. Even if you're just starting out, or even if you've been in the industry for so long, but you've changed things and your view count has dropped, or maybe you're just not as popular as you want to be, you know what? Popularity isn't everything it's made up to be. So you might be, having a blessing right there that you're not as popular as Ninja or whatever else is out there. Just keep being you, treat people the way you want to be treated, and learn. And I think that's really what we can do, is evolve.
Well said. ReAnimateHer, where can everyone check out all your brilliant work? I know there's a plethora of places, but take your time, plug all your information, and yeah.
Yeah. Well, I always like to say I'm like Frank's Red Hot Sauce. I put that shit everywhere. I put my content everywhere. You can catch me live on Twitch. You can check out recorded content and some lives over on YouTube. I do stream to Kick, and you can check me out on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, all as ReAnimateHer. At Twitter or X is the only one that's different. I have an underscore at the end of the R. But if you like horror content, you like discussions, psychology around horror, why we like horror, make sure to consume my content.
And she's one of the best. She's the queen of horror. I'm going to be honest. You know what I mean? I think a lot of folks, they underestimate like certain podcasters. I'm the type of one that I study first before I go into the conversation. I like to see is who the person is, what they made up, what they got going on, what they doing, all this stuff. And that's why we're compelled to bring you here, and have the conversation, because some great things you're doing. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
Good work, And I hope you get those two twins on your platform. I believe you.
Yes, it would be fun. I think it would be fun. I may reach out to them probably next year.
Why next year? Why not right now?
Because I'm still working on some things. One of my downsides is I'm a perfectionist, and that is a downside. People think it's a strong quality, but it's really not. It's not, because you could have something perfected, but in your eyes, it's still not there. So I'm still there.
Well, I know it's going to come for you, regardless of the
Thank you.
Know what I mean? And I appreciate you coming on the Mitchell Report Unleashed podcast.
I'm very grateful for you having me on here. Thank you so very much. It was a great time, a great conversation, and definitely we can do it again. And we can also talk about what we talked about earlier, Lizzie Borden and whatever else.
Listen, the invite's here. Trust me, there's some things I'm working on for the fourth quarter. So
nice.
I want to start bringing more multiple different personalities, because I think that it'd be good to get different perspectives and things like that,
Oh, yes, 100%. Different views. You may not agree with them, but still listening to them can give you a different concept of things, right?